Now, under items from the City Manager's Office, we had a presentation by Chairman of the School Board of Education, Angela Monson, and if it's all right with the Council, I'd like to move that item forward. Why don't you come on up, Angela? Happy Valentine's Day. I like your red.
I like your red, too. Yours, too. Good morning, everyone. I came in, I thought you guys were all into your business. I thought I was only 8 minutes late. You know, golly gee, you guys are quite effective. And I pulled the agenda and I didn't see me. I thought, maybe I have the wrong day. But thank you very much, Madam Vice Mayor. Good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be with you. This is an exciting time in Oklahoma City on all fronts. It's a time of challenge, but also a time of great opportunity. Just pleased to be with you as the mayor continues to invite me periodically to come and update about some of the activities occurring in Oklahoma City Public Schools. And I want to talk about those specifically in partnership with the City of Oklahoma City. And just be really, really brief because your trusty staff, Debbie Martin and Gayleen from the mayor's office, and our staff at Oklahoma City Public Schools are trying to find the right date for us to have, again, our annual, we're not sure, it's just a little beyond a year, City Council School Board retreat sort of meeting. And it was that meeting last year that resulted in a task force between several of your council members and several of our board members. We do meet monthly, and those activities, Patrick Ryan, Pete White are your representatives, Lynn Watson and myself serve representing the school board. Those meetings have proven to be very productive. Our staff, your staff, have been engaged, working hard together to find common areas of interest and support. I'd like to just mention a few. You'll hear more report once we can finalize this joint meeting. You'll hear more detail about these things. But the district's initiative to begin high school choice, open choice, promoting career opportunities for our students, our National Academy Foundation initiative, our themed career academies, is well underway. The City of Oklahoma City has been extraordinarily helpful in moving that initiative forward and identifying members of your staff who work on our advisory boards to help engage more community participation, to make sure that the curriculum is relevant to what's going on in today's workforce. Your human resources leader, Diane, has been very, very helpful. And I think every one of our 5, now 6, Career Academy advisory boards have representatives from the City of Oklahoma City participating. In addition, they've worked hard to try to determine ways that we can use more city employees as mentors in our schools. I think we will start with individuals like you and salaried employees who can take a little time off and come into our schools and help our students. So that's very important. We're trying to identify a school or two, target and pilot some activities that might look a little different from our normal mentoring program. Same with our after-school initiatives. We worked about utilization of facilities, both our buildings and maybe some of the park and recreation facilities, how we can expand that optimum time after school to help encourage our kids to be engaged in positive, energizing activities, whether it be physical activity, whether it be science projects, whether it be music or dance or whatever areas of interest that these students have. But we've been working continuously to try to figure out how we can best use facilities, time and energy and expertise in those areas. Transportation is critical. As I mentioned the academy just a moment ago, if we go to which we have proposed and which we have planned, which we are preparing for, high schools of choice based on career interests among our students, we have to move students around all across the city. Transportation is a difficult issue both for the district and the City of Oklahoma City, and I just really want to applaud our transportation leader, your transportation leader. I think they are coming up with some great ideas that will not only help move our students where they need to be, but as I think someone said in the meeting, grow up a generation of individuals who believe that public transportation is okay. get them used to riding those buses, and it'll help bolster the services that you offer, and we can provide some customers to you. And lastly, I want to mention this whole notion of the internal audits. How do you make sure that what you do is most efficient and effective? You guys have developed a system, and we are learning from that process and are moving now to employ our own internal auditor to work jointly with you, to learn from you, to do things with you, to ensure that our services, our work is the most efficient that we can possibly provide. Lastly, we are moving to create a task force on technology. We know that our kids, I have a problem. I almost can call my 5-year-old grandson to help me resolve my technology problems. Generally, I call my 17-year-old daughter, who can resolve all kinds of issues. But we know that the utilization of technology in our buildings, if I can use this phrase, as my kid says, sucks. So we're moving quickly to create a task force, and I think a couple of your employees will join us on that task force to enhance. We have some resources available through E-Rate, so we want to make sure distance learning opportunities are available to our students so we can offer more classes and opportunities for our students. The last thing, unrelated to the task force, that I do want to mention is really our biggest challenge today, this day, and our biggest opportunity. Most of you have heard on national news as well as local news that the State Department of Education has been granted a waiver from what we generally call our No Child Left Behind law. That waiver has been conditionally granted, but we all are fairly secure and believe that that final waiver granting will be extended to us from the U.S. Department of Ed. It gives lots of flexibility to the State Department of Education in expenditure of Title I money, other federal dollars, great opportunities to the State Department of Education to do some things differently. The challenge is to make sure that we as a local district and all of the local districts across the state also have those same opportunities for flexibility. There's a provision in the waiver that reads simply, and I'm reading exactly from the waiver, local education agencies with identified priority schools will be required to implement the turnaround principles as defined in the Elementary Secondary Education Act waiver package. Local education agencies that are unable to demonstrate capacity to do so will relinquish control of all aspects of a priority school's operation that directly or indirectly relate to student achievement to the state education agency. That simply means the documents that we have to submit on tomorrow to the State Department of Education, if deemed unacceptable, if deemed that we are unable to demonstrate the capacity to really turn around some 17, 19 priority schools as identified by the State Department of Education, then we are subject to have all control taken away from us. That's a big challenge for this district. That's a big challenge for districts all across the state. And unfortunately, although we have a template to fill in the blanks to produce our capacity documentation, we do not know exactly what is demonstration of capacity. We don't know exactly how we're going to be measured. We don't know exactly. We've been given some ideas, like extending the day, which we have done, extending the school year, trying to find after-school activities and partnerships. So we think we have everything right. We hope that we do. We know we have great challenges, and I tell you, the last 4 weeks, our school board has worked diligently with our superintendent to identify measurable outcomes for student achievement. Most of those areas we have, over the next 18 months, proposed as much as 30% increases in academic performance among our students. That's a hard row to hoe, in essence, given the state of affairs in our school district. But we know that our students can perform. We have great expectations that they will perform. We will hold accountable from the board superintendent all the way down. But most importantly, we want to encourage teachers all the way up to identify the kinds of things that they know our students need that will work. And our biggest challenge right now is to make sure that our State Department of Education will truly be a partner with us to allow that to happen. So I just wanted to say that just in case we're back saying we need your help, we want to continue this partnership that we've established with our city council and our city leaders to make sure that all of our schools can be the kind of schools that we envision for our students. So always thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to our next joint meeting. Pat and Pete, it's always good to be with you at our monthly task force meetings. Be happy if you have a moment to answer any questions or respond to anything.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
Let me make a comment. With the hard work of the chairman and superintendent of schools, Oklahoma City Schools District has come a lot further than most people give it credit for. And I think one of the issues that I've talked about at our joint meetings is the fact that they need to have a better PR program to make people aware of the significant improvements that have been made in Oklahoma City schools. The perception is strong in our community that it's not a good school district, failed school district. And the truth is a long ways from that. It's a much better school system they get credit for. They've got excellent leadership, really enthusiastic people willing to make changes, to do things differently. And I think they need to get a lot more credit. They deserve it, and they need to get it. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Ryan.
Other comments?
I'd just like to add one thing about the task force. For me, it's one of the most rewarding things I participate in. We meet monthly, we brainstorm ideas and get reports on ideas that we've thrown out the month before, and the commitment on part of the board and on the part of Chairman Monson, I think, is commendable because the Superintendent Springer said that in all his years in education, he has never been in a situation where a city sat down with the school board and did what we're doing. He's never heard of it. At least he's never heard of it in Oklahoma. Probably there are other cities where the cities manage the school board where it may be a more regular function. But he said he's never been in a situation where a city actually participated the way that we're doing it. And it's very rewarding to do it. And the comment you made earlier about a city employee now, at least one, I suspect, but in many cases more than one, are serving on this kind of a board of directors for each one of these academies. That's not what you call them.
Well, that's advisory boards, but in essence, that's kind of how they act.
Right. And, you know, engineering, the school where they have engineering, we've got our engineers there. We've got business people. We've got finance people working in it. It's just, I think they're going to find the same positive return to them as I've found in participating, and others I think have found just that good feeling that we're accomplishing something. So many times we work down here and you feel like we just have plowed the same ground again and again and again, and we haven't moved it very far. But my participation in this task force, and I think Pat would go along with me on this, we actually from month to month see things changing, see ideas coming to fruition, good things between the two bodies, and so it's been a real honor to serve on it and work on it and participate, and the benefits have been probably more to me than they have to the school board because I've enjoyed it so much, the participation. But it's
Thank you.
a good deal.
Larry, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just an overall comment. Thank you for your report. Thank you, Pat, and you, Pete, for participating in this. And I hear you saying that you feel that there's been some significant accomplishments made that maybe have not gotten out to the public through a good positive PR. I hope when we have our joint meeting that you'll be able to articulate some of those specifics so that we can get on the same level of enthusiasm that you are. Because you mentioned, what I heard you say is that you have a vision ahead that you expect to perform at a 30% increase on some of the key measurements that you're talking about. And that would be very, very encouraging to have that as a goal. And I'd be interested when you have our workshop together, how have you done up to this point on some of the accomplishments so that we know just what's going on. Thank you for your enthusiasm and thank you for the hope that you bring.
Thank you, and we'll make sure you are provided with that kind of true academic progress information.
And Skip, you had some comments?
Yes. Madam Chairman, I would like to also acknowledge the fact that being personally involved in a couple of the schools that's in Ward 7, and one in particular is Edwards Elementary School. The partnership relationships that you referenced to, having an opportunity to be at the school and be a part of some of the programs there this past summer, it's amazing to see the level of energy from the students and also from the parents' involvement, from not only parents but grandparents, to see that when someone else walks in to participate in the educational enrichment of those children and the school as a whole, it definitely makes a difference in reference to the leadership of the school, the students, the participation of the parents, and it makes it a much greater environment for learning. And the children are just really amazed to see other individuals walk into the school and participate in any program that they have. And so I would just like to say that I think that in echoing what Councilman Ryan stated, that in some of those individual situations where the school is getting the partnerships from, some of the major corporations and some of the citizens in the community, that it should be a story told that I don't think gets elevated enough in reference to the PR of the school. So, but your leadership has been amazing. You and Dr. Springer, and in reference to what I have witnessed as it relates to some of the individual schools, is as Pete stated, it's unheard of that what this city has witnessed in the past, and we hope that the continuation of that will be much greater. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Kelly. May I, Madam Chair, mention, because Councilman Ryan did mention a story to be told. Through the work of your communication folk, our communication folk, we have devised additional access to Channel 20. We're encouraging that each council person team with their school board member, do an interview, talk about the district. We're finding ways, and very soon, hopefully, we'll at least stream online our school board meetings, record them for later playback, to make sure that the public is well aware of some of the challenges before us, but some of the successes as well as that our district is experiencing. We believe that if we empower people who know best what our children need, starting with teachers and our building principals, give them the ability to make decisions, implement those decisions, that they will feel greater responsibility, and that our job will simply be to hold them accountable. So the words of the day are empowerment, responsibility, and accountability.
Angela, could I just, before we finish, ask you to talk a little bit about Teach for America? We've got 50 amazing young people in our schools. And
we have 50 young people who, most of whom are alternatively certified. I want to quickly say that because a lot of people believe that some of these young people are not certified teachers, but they're science people, math people, people who went to college and performed at some of our best universities across the country and in Oklahoma, who never really thought about teaching, but realized this was a wonderful opportunity through Teach for America to utilize their skill, their knowledge, their desire to make a difference in a kid's life and come into a classroom. So we employ 50, we actually got 52 last year, who are in our elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. We just renewed that contract this year. We will be bringing into play another 20 plus or so Teach for America. I want to call them students because they're young, but they are teachers. So we'll be bringing more into our district this year. They bring enthusiasm, they bring knowledge, they bring a connection with students that we hope will, in essence, infect the buildings within which they work, and that they will inspire others who maybe are not so enthusiastic to understand that we really can make a difference in children's lives. So Teach for America, we're looking at, just as the councilman asked about results, we're looking at the actual performance measures, classroom by classroom, where our Teach for America teachers have been placed, to compare those with traditional teachers. We want to make sure that we know that it's effective, like any of our initiatives, and we want to make sure that we can learn from the kinds of things that Teach for America teaches their students.
Thank you. They've been so enthusiastic and so excited about being in this community that's welcomed them. So
thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you all.
leadership.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask you one question real quick? Obesity is the fastest rising public health epidemic in the history of the United States. Sometime next year, we'll surpass Mississippi to lead the country, both in Oklahoma City and Oklahoma. And it's clear that that battle is really won or lost with children. And so I'm curious what ideas, if any, are being bounced around on the school board? I know you have an election today for District 4. I'm glad in that election to be hearing that debated and talked about. They've talked about the partnership between the city and the school board, like in Denver, where they'll have like a centralized kitchen, maybe one area that then disperses healthy food to many different schools from one central location instead of trying to update the cafeterias. And
we have 86 buildings, and you know the square mileage. So a centralized...
or multiple.
We have equipment in all of our schools to prepare food. One thing, and I think this is more than a year old, one of the first things we talked about, we do not have deep fry cookers in any of our buildings. All of our meals are considered sound in accordance to U.S. Department of Agriculture standards. The challenge is to make sure we get our kids to eat that food. So there is still yet work to be done. When I was growing up, eating in the cafeteria was part of the highlights of the day. I mean, the food was really good. The one difference was that the food was actually prepared from scratch in the building. That's the greatest challenge. Our cafeterias do not technically prepare, cook, create food. They warm it up. It's actually prepared in the literal sense, prior to stashing in the oven, prepared meals. So we do have challenges to ensure that our students eat well and eat wise while they're in our buildings. But we also have the challenge of physical activity. But the real answer to the childhood obesity problem cannot be solved by the school district. Clearly, it is a community issue. It is an issue that requires access to healthy meals and healthy food when a child is at home in their neighborhoods, not convenience store food, but real, as my kids describe, real food. It requires access to physical activities, whether it's walking trails, safe biking, physical activity outside. It requires that parents become more aware of how the implications of health in terms of a child's obesity. And it does mean whenever we start talking about obesity, I want to close my jacket. It requires that we all change lifestyles. So we are engaging in partnerships because we know we can't do it by ourselves. With our Eat Wise organization, we have a pilot program right now in several of our schools to see what it would take to actually begin to really prepare food in that local campus, in that school's cafeteria, and not bring already food in that needs simply to be warmed. So we're trying some things. We're working with the Oklahoma City County Health Department. We're working, of course, with Fit Kids, with the Institute of Child Advocacy, other organizations who have the same interests as we in terms of our kids' health and well-being, so that we can utilize those who do it better. We can utilize that expertise and that knowledge inside of our buildings, and then we can make sure that our students have an opportunity outside of our buildings to participate in healthy behaviors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, happy Valentine's Day. Councilman Ryan, Councilman White, and to all of you, thank you very much. I appreciate these two gentlemen who take their time and energy. The manager shows up. Thank you, Mr. Manager, for your participation and all of the outstanding staff of the City of Oklahoma City. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much for coming down, Angela. We appreciate your work. Okay, I think we now need to convene as the Oklahoma City Environmental Assistance Trust.